Today we're going to begin our clay Nicho boxes. So the first thing we did was we brainstormed some ideas for different shapes of our Nicho and also the different details that we were going to add as decoration. Now we can kind of change the shape at the top of our Nicho the most, but the bottom part is going to mostly be a really thick, strong, sturdy rectangle that then we'll add some more creative stuff to later. So after brainstorming, on the back, I drew what I decided was going to be my final shape. I'm going to cut this out and use it as a template for my clay project. So my details that go on the front aren't really as important right now. I'm going to just kind of cut out the basic overall shape so that I can trace it. I also have to cut out the middle of this rectangle. So usually when I have to cut things out in the center, I fold it, put a little snip in the center so that I can get my scissors in there and cut that inside shape out. Now that I have my template cut out, I can lay it on my clay slab in order to cut out the shape. Remember, I did not cut around my flower details. I know that these flowers and squares are going to be things that I add later, so I just cut right through those flower petals. So now I'm going to lay this on so that it all fits on my slab of clay. And I'm going to use my clay tool to just push all the way through the clay to the mat beneath it so that I can remove these extra shapes. I'm going to save these pieces because I might use them as details later. It's also important to hold your cutting tool straight. If you lean it to the side, it's going to make a slanted cut. Now very carefully, I'm going to make sure that my slab comes up off of my mat that I'm working on, because it's kind of easy for clay slab projects to get stuck. So I really want to very carefully take that off. Once I have my slab up, I can remove the center and then gently lay this back down, kind of fix the edges if I need to. But I'm being very, very careful not to press down too hard on the mat because I don't want that to get stuck. Now the next thing we can do is start adding details to our Nicho frame. And this is one of the most important parts because Nicho boxes are very ornate. They have a lot of details added. So the first thing that you can think about is adding a texture to the frame itself. You can either use a tool to do this if you want to press some different textures into the frame, but sometimes I like to use other tools like my finger or my knuckle. Just have to be extra careful that after I press these textures in, I can still lift up my slab off the mat. Once you finish your texture, it's very important to start adding your extra shapes that you planned out on your design. So one of the details that I was going to add were these squares. So I'm just going to take some of my clay scraps and cut those shapes out. Kind of work with them a little bit so that they look like how you like. And then you're going to place them on the frame. Now, if I press that on, it does kind of stick, but once the clay dries, that clay isn't going to be sticky anymore and it will pop right off. So whenever you are attaching extra clay, you need to remember to slip and score. So that means I'm taking a pointy clay tool and scratching the back surface of my shape so that it's really messy and torn up. That's called scoring. And then wherever I'm going to stick it on, I'm going to score that area as well. Nice and messy. Then you're going to add just a tiny drop of water to each side and then gently wiggle that shape into place. and that water and all that scoring will make the two pieces stick together. I'm just going to keep on going, adding details to my Nicho box. When you come to a stopping place for the day, you might need to put your project into a plastic bag in order to keep it wet until the next time you can work on it. So some kids find that keeping their project on a scrap piece of paper keeps it from sticking to the board, and then also makes it easier to lift the project and then get it into the plastic bag. So you have to do this part kind of carefully so that hopefully you don't mess your project up. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna lay it down in the bag, kind of push out all the air. You can even kind of just gently fold it around your clay project, so that you sort of have a nice little package like that. And then we're gonna take a piece of masking tape and write our name and art code. So I always like to put the masking tape on the table so that it's easier to write with. And then I lift it up and attach it right to the bag, just like this. Then it will be ready for you to work on next time.